But the story was not so simple. There used to be many other hominids besides we Homo sapiens, and we continue to discover more. We currently know of roughly 20 different species. At times, multiple species are thought to have coexisted. The path leading to Homo sapiens looks like this. The other lineages became extinct without leaving evolutionary descendants. An important hominid that paved the way to our existence was Ardipithecus ramidus. Ramidus's success laid in the environment they lived in. In the era Ramidus walked the forests, there was a cataclysm in Africa. It turned out to be a lucky break for bipeds. Canines of a male Ramidus. Compared to a chimpanzee, Ramidus has very small canines. The canines of male chimpanzees are thought to have developed as weapons to fight over females. The relatively small canines of Ramidus could be evidence that males did not fight over females. Dr. Lovejoy theorizes this would imply that Ramidus practiced monogamy. In other words, it had only one mate at a time.
What you're doing is, instead of wasting the male's energy in simply competing with other males for access to a female, you're instead using his energy to the reproductive advantage of the pair.
Which had more slender bodies, and genus Paranthropus, which had more solid builds. Among others, Homo habilis and Paranthropus boisei were rivals who coexisted for about 600,000 years. Hominids of genus Paranthropus are also known as robust Australopithecines. Their jaws were indeed powerful enough to feast on hard beans and roots. Here we have the skulls of Paranthropus and Habilis. The Paranthropus had very thick temporal muscles that almost covered the entire head. He could probably chew 3 to 6 times stronger than Homo habilis. But in the end, the Paranthropus branch of the family tree died out. How did the less robust Homo habilis win the battle for survival? Up with the answer. Daniel Lieberman of Harvard University. He says it's clear from Homo erectus bones that have been excavated.
Run. So if you met a Homo erectus, it would probably be a pretty good runner. There are no other animals running the Tokyo Marathon, right? It's just humans. If you took your dog.
It did not have a major effect on temperate Asia. Java Man, a group of Homo erectus living there, was unscathed. The Neanderthals, who had been in Europe a long time, were already at ease.
The coastlines that are rich for foragers would be places where people would find refuge during glacial phases. The genetic evidence that we have suggests that it was during that glacial phase that the lineage that leads to all modern humans, everybody alive on the planet today, originated.
What helped the survivors was their curiosity to try new foods.
If a Neanderthal and a modern human were to fight hand to hand, the Neanderthal would...
Error, but one mixed with Neanderthals then, and they contributed the...
Style of Homo sapiens. Many types of atlatl have been found at Homo sapiens sites from this period. With a tool like this, you can throw a spear twice as far. Why did the two species come to live in groups of such different sizes? One possible answer has come from infants. Karen Wynn probes the traits of ancient hominids by studying the behavior of infants.
All right. Hi. Right. How are you today? How are you today?
Experiments with babies less than 1 year old reveal that Homo sapiens has a trait which favors living in groups. The gray doll in the center tries to open the box, but the blue doll interferes. When the gray doll tries again, the yellow doll, in contrast, helps out.
Which one do you like?
Which do babies prefer? The yellow doll.
Okay. All right.
And when the colors are switched,
Which one do you like?
now the blue doll is chosen.
Okay.
Wynn's experiment found that almost all babies prefer the doll that helps.
Humans are such an incredibly social species. Even very young children will spontaneously help others and wish to cooperate with them. And since we also know that babies have an understanding of what is helpful and what is fundamentally cooperative, that gives them a sense of how to join in that community. And it may be that even though we are much less strong than many other species, that it was our cooperative group nature that gave us the edge.
Even infants who have not yet learned to talk are inclined toward cooperation. That would seem to be why ancient Homo sapiens lived in larger groups than the Neanderthals. One researcher found an answer in a part of the human brain.
My name's Robin Dunbar, and my research is all about the evolution of social communities and how that relates to the evolution of the brain. Much more than any of the other bits in the course of human evolution.
"200 kilometers east of Moscow, we find the remains of
Billy's calm
And the power and the physicality of the Neanderthals.
Of that.
anymore. Curiously, however, that is when our ancestors began engaging in a completely new type of behavior. It could have been warfare.
Africa mixed with Neanderthals and become the ancestors of everybody outside Africa. And those babies became integrants.
7.6 billion people live across planet Earth. How did we Homo sapiens achieve this astonishing expansion? When Homo sapiens emerged 200,000 years ago, they quickly spread across the globe. The latest research and experiments reveal how only Homo sapiens crossed the seas in ancient prehistory. How did prehistoric man cross the dangerous oceans? An important clue to the answer was found at a dig site in Japan. Ishigaki Island lies at the southern end of Japan. Here, ancient fossil remains were found during the construction of an airport.
これはこれもう出てんだよこれ。これも。ああこれです。そうそうそう。腕の前腕と胸椎、背骨の骨ですね。足の指です。
There were 19 human skeletons from 20,000 to 27,000 years ago.
来た。
すごいねしかし。続々出てくるじゃん。出てこないね。
超忙しい。
水飲んでる暇もない。
The number of bodies suggests this was a grave. From this site, Japan's oldest complete skeleton was also found. It is rare worldwide that so many skeletons from this era were unearthed at one site.
次に見つかるのは50年後か100年後かっていうぐらいのすごい遺跡だと思ってますよ。歴史に残るような、その研究史には必ず残るし、いずれは教科書にも載るかもしれないようなそういう遺跡であることは間違いない。
Dr. Naomi Doi scans all of the bones. Using a 3D modeling software, she attempts to piece the skull back together to recreate its face.
いいじゃん、ぴったりだよ。おお。できた。ドキドキするね。
Here is the facial recreation, a face you might see today. Analyzing the bones also reveals lifestyle markers. This hollow is an ear hole. See the bony spikes inside? They're known as surfer's ear, found in the ear canal of those who regularly swim in the sea. This indicates that these people spent a lot of time by the sea. But there is a big mystery of anthropology. Where on earth did they come from? DNA tests could provide answers. And the results showed their genes have similarities to Southwest Asians of today. The ancient Okinawans in Japan seem to have crossed the seas from somewhere in Southeast Asia. Back then, about 30,000 years ago, Southeast Asia looked like this. The Ice Age lowered the sea by 80 meters. A huge landmass called Sundaland was exposed. A series of Paleolithic sites have been discovered across this area. The evidence shows that an extensive cultural sphere had developed here. An international research team began work at this site in Indonesia in 2016. It's led by Dr. Adam Brunn of Australia's Griffith University. They found an elaborate piece of jewelry, a rare find in Asia so far.
It's a finger bone from a type of marsupial necklace, or it may well have been attached to a bracelet or an earring, possibly. We really don't know. But it's clear evidence for modern human symbolism.
Another astonishing find was made in the Tempasing Caves, a few kilometers away. This is possibly the oldest cave art in the world. Some images are stencils, like this handprint. This depicts a local wild boar. Nearby caves contain images of fish and squid.
Ini tim merasa sangat bangga dan senang atas hasil pertanggalan tersebut.
These discoveries overturned current theories of human history. It was thought the earliest human culture began in Europe during this period, as seen in the Chauvet and Lascaux caves. But this Asian art is over 2,000 years older than that of the Chauvet cave. A culture comparable to that of Europe already existed in Asia. Hopes are high for even more amazing discoveries.
This is becoming one of the real hotspots of prehistoric human archaeology, not only in Indonesia, but in the world. Historically, most of the scientists who have investigated the early human past have been based in Europe. Now we're starting to see the same levels of intensive investigation in parts of Southeast Asia and elsewhere in this region. So it's only now that we're really starting to see these discoveries come to light.
Southeast Asia was also inhabited by many early humans. And those closest to Japan lived in Taiwan, which was still part of the Eurasian continent. The Baxian Cave archaeological site is located on the eastern coast of Taiwan. Many stone tools from about 30,000 years ago have been found here. The date is close to that of fossils discovered from the Ishigashi Island in Okinawa, Japan. Early humans seem to have first traveled from the Japanese island from Taiwan. But one barrier remained. Over 100 kilometers of ocean separates Taiwan and Japan. And it's home to a very fast current, known as the Black Stream. How they cross this perilous sea is a mystery. To solve it, researchers used drifting buoys to map the current. Drifting on the sea would not lead you to the islands. Then how did the prehistoric inhabitants cross this challenging tide? One clue was found in East Timor, 3,000 miles to the south, on the edge of Indonesia. The Jeremalai cave site contains many unusual items left behind by its ancient inhabitants. Here, Dr. Sue O'Connor discovered very important evidence of early seafaring abilities.
This is some of the fish bone that we found this time, are something like tuna.
The inhabitants ate a lot of fish, and the important discovery was about the types of the fish.
It's the first place in the world where we found evidence of pelagic fishing, which is fishing for fish like tuna.
Many of their catch were relative to tuna and bonito, living in open water. They couldn't be caught from the shore. This has led Dr. O'Connor.
People were using boats.
But these travelers had only simple tools made of broken stone. We still don't know what kind of boats they built to reach deep water regions. One researcher took a unique approach to the mystery by recreating the ancient voyage across the Black Stream. Dr. Yosuke Kaifu, an anthropologist at Japan's National Museum of Nature and Science. He wants to learn how people traveled from Taiwan to Okinawa's islands.
当時の世界では多分、一番難しい航海をやっている可能性が高いです。これ世界の人類史の中でもですね、非常に大きな出来事だと思います。人間の歴史っていうのはそのチャレンジの積み重ね、技術の革新というのもですね、そういうものだと思うんですけど、それは実はもう3万年前、本当に太古の祖先から始まっていたんだということが明らかになるんじゃないかなと思っています。
A huge experiment was held in 2016. Dr. Kaifu formed a team of 60 researchers and volunteers. The project aims at a full recreation of a 30,000-year-old voyage. The team will use ancient tools to build a boat and cross the sea. This approach is called experimental archaeology. The group has found a type of reed that grows in the region. Bundled together, the reeds could form a simple canoe. The group uses shells to cut reeds. They were a common tool back then. Vast numbers of reeds are needed to make a boat. It takes 10 people over a week just to gather the material.
この海に出るわけですよね、これから。だけどまず陸の上でこういう作業準備をしないと海に出れない。祖先たちはそこまでやってたに違いないですよね。
Now that the reeds are cut, it's time to build a boat. But how do you do that with reeds? The reeds must form dense bundles, so they break into teams. Some tie them with vines. Others hammer the reeds to make the bundles more tightly together. Reed boats look simple, but require close cooperation among large numbers of people. And a single reed boat is not enough. Establishing a population in a new land, the number of new inhabitants is critical. The team calculated the least necessary number of travelers. A single traveler couldn't reproduce, of course. Children from one set of parents would eventually die out. The research group used estimates about birth and death rates at the time, and they concluded that at least 10 people would have been needed. It means 5 pairs of young men and women. The project decides to make 2 reed boats, each carrying 5 people. The boats are completed in 2 months. In this experiment, the team tries to travel the 75 kilometers to Iramote. The starting point is Yanaguni, an Okinawa island nearest to Taiwan. The rowers spent 2 weeks practicing for today, but just overcoming the waves is tough. Sight lines are bad from the bobbling boat. The target island is invisible. To recreate a 30,000-year-old voyage, the crew do not use modern tools like compasses. They must rely on the sun's position. 30,000 years ago, people did know how to navigate this way. In 5 hours, the boats should travel eastward, that is, toward the right, but keep drifting left. The boats drag against the water. As their speed drops, the current takes them off course. In the end, the voyage had to be abandoned. An additional ship towed the reed boats home. The team couldn't reach Iramote Island with their handmade boats.
昔の人はどうやって来たのかと行ったっていう証拠が残ってて、じゃあ生きるわけじゃないですか。それをできなかったっていうのはとても誰かができたことができなかったのは悔しいです。できると思ってたから。俺はわけわかんない。
In the attempt to reveal how ancient humans crossed the seas, Dr. Kai Fu, the project leader, tries another approach. Now the team builds a different type of boat. They make stone tools. These stone tools are used to cut down bamboo for the boat. An indigenous group on Taiwan called the Amis still make bamboo boats. They help the team build one. Dr. Kai Fu doesn't want them to use modern hammers. He asks them to use stones. A fast, dynamic bamboo boat is completed. This time, they'll travel 40 kilometers from Taiwan's eastern coast to Ludao, or Green Island. The bamboo boat is definitely faster than the reed canoes. But they're caught in a sudden rain shower. The sun and the island vanish. There's no way to check their direction. As they flounder on the sea, the ocean current sweeps them off course. Unable to maintain speed against the current, the boat has been carried away. The experiment has failed again. The second attempt to recreate part of humanity's global travels has just intensified the mystery. Dr. Kai Fu has one more idea to solve the mystery. How did the prehistoric voyagers cross the powerful ocean current? Especially when the closest Okinawan island can't be seen from Taiwan. Some locals say they haven't seen it in their lifetimes. Under some atmospheric conditions, it is possible to see the island offshore 100 miles away. 30,000 years ago, people may have seen the island and decided to travel there. Once they knew there was a new territory, a burning desire to explore perhaps inevitably drove them to voyage across seas. Reed boats failed. So did the more buoyant bamboo boats. Kai Fu suspects that innovative tools would be required for his next plan. Evidence of such tools have been found in Northern Territory, Australia. The Majid Bibi Rock Shelter is the oldest human occupation site in Australia, at 65,000 years old.
So these are the oldest axes in the world. The other wonderful thing about this axe is it has a very distinctive groove running all the way around. You can see it here as well, this groove running down this side. We just had no idea that people were making axes so early.
Stone axes are the product of the full ingenuity of early humanity. The sharp edge is proof this was a well-made tool. Axes have also been found in the Jaramalai caves of East Timor. This one also has a sharp edge. It was made from a seashell. Made of different materials, but both axes had traces of handles. This is an important point.
Previously we were wondering, how did they make the boats? They would have used this for chopping wood, definitely, for sure.
An axe with a handle is far more powerful. It can cut and shape hard woods. A handle will increase the smashing power nearly tenfold. An axe can fell trees and hollow them to make log canoes. Maybe the people who traveled to Okinawa 30,000 years ago used wood canoes. It's a new possibility to consider. Kaifu's project to recreate the prehistoric voyage quickly began studying his new idea. Can a stone axe truly bring down a tree? The trunk must be a meter across to fit a person inside it. Time to experiment. Six days later, after the chop number 36,225.
昔の道具でですね、これだけの大きな仕事ができるっていうことがもう目の前でそれを見れたっていうことですね、もうすごく感激してますね。3万年前の人たちもやっぱりこういうことはできたであろうということが示されたと思います。これは大きな前進ですね。
They test their dugout canoe. Time to see if the canoe can outpace the Kuroshio current.
草と竹とやってきましたけど、この船は圧倒的に速いです。
The test was a success. Next year, they hope to travel from Taiwan to Yanaguni, one of the Okinawa's southernmost islands, using this boat. The secret of a perilous ancient sea voyage is now being revealed. The experiments suggest the voyage 30,000 years ago may have looked like this. A group is transporting a log canoe. many people have to work together to prepare the canoes. A chosen number of young people stand ready to go. At least 5 pairs of men and women are needed to ensure survival of offspring. They set off for unknown lands, ready to forge a new future. And so humans arrived in Okinawa. They traveled between the islands. Many sites on Japan's southern islands reveal humanity's earliest presence. Throughout the world, Homo sapiens learned to voyage across the seas, and also to survive in bitter cold land crossings in the Arctic. We made it to the southern tip of South America. Humanity flourished in every corner of the globe. They also faced another challenge in their travels across the planet. It was extreme cold. Today, it's 25 degrees Celsius below zero. It can go as low as 60 degrees below zero here. This is one of the coldest places on Earth. There's evidence that human beings already lived in the furthest north, 30,000 years ago. Their footsteps have been found in the Sakha Republic of Russia. The Yana RHS site lies at a latitude of 71 degrees north. It was discovered by Dr. Vladimir Petulko. Today he shows us footage of the site that has never been released before. The ongoing dig began in 2003. The permafrost is melted with water and dug away during summer. This is a mammoth bone suspended in ice. An extraordinary number of mammoth and buffalo bones have been found here. along with over 100,000 man-made items.
Холоднее, чем сейчас, причем серьезно холоднее. Никаких свидетельств пребывания неандертальцев нигде не найдено.
But why did Homo sapiens travel to this extremely cold region? A mammoth. This is what they were after. The extreme north at the time was abound with many large animals to catch. Unexpectedly, a large amount of food was available there. The snowy ground made it easier to spot prey. There was another point in their favor. The snow left easy trails to follow. It's easy to spot prey. Yet, however abundant food may have been available, the cold here was truly extreme. So how did Homo sapiens overcome the extreme cold? Among many items unearthed at the site of Yana RHS, Dr. Pitulko found an important one. It's a tool that helped humans survive in the far north. Carefully stored inside a casket made from animal bone are sewing needles made from bones of mammoth and other animals. A total of 103 needles have been found, each 5 to 10 centimeters long. Nowhere else have so many old needles been found in one place.
Когда это находится впервые, все говорят, ну надо же. Обладание именно этим умением послужило ключом к освоению этих арктических территорий.
Even today, traditional reindeer coats are made by hand.
Края крепко зацепляются сразу, края, они как бы сливаются вместе друг с другом. А так будешь делать, она же вот так.
To keep out the chill and retain body heat, the clothes must completely cover you from head to toe. To make such clothes, sewing needles are very important. This may look simple to make, but in fact, a needle is extremely difficult to construct. First, a groove is carved into an animal bone. And a second groove is made here. Then the bone is hammered to create a thin shard. This must be scraped into the correct shape. And the next step is to make a hole for the thread. It's painstaking, delicate work. If the bone breaks, you must start from scratch. At last, it's complete. Creating a single needle from bone requires complex pre-visualization. Research is underway to reveal the parts of our brain involved in this tool-making ability. Volunteers' brains are scanned as they watch how to make a stone tool. They get a virtual experience of tool making. In their brain, an unexpected part has been activated. It's Broca's area, which controls language skills.
I think in the modern world, most people would think of tool making, tool use, and language as completely separate spheres of human activity. And yet they both have a similar structure, kind of a hierarchical structure to them in terms of the goals that we have. So finding that in fact is powerful support for that evolutionary hypothesis about a shared origin between tool making and language.
Dr. Stout thinks, in terms of brain activity, speech and tool-making has much in common. Words or steps in a process both require a meaningful arrangement. Neanderthals also used language, yet their language may have been simpler than human speech. So were their tools. Homo sapiens had both language and tools of high sophistication. Their advanced tools, like sewing needles, helped them even survive the extreme cold. Homo sapiens invented all kinds of new tools to. But as we mastered the natural world, we also had negative impacts. Dr. Gavin Prideaux of Flinders University in Australia points out that Australia was once a paradise of giant animals, extremely diverse, unique species that used to thrive here.
And all of these megafauna species are now gone from Australia.
Dr. Prideaux's group has analyzed when these megafauna, such as marsupial lions and giant wombats, died out. They discovered extinctions happened not long after the arrival of human beings.
We think that between about the time humans arrived, maybe 65 or so thousand years ago, and about 40,000 years ago, approximately 90% of the megafaunal species in Australia became extinct. So humans were the decisive factor in Australia.
The most likely reason is hunting. Another is that humans burned down trees to broaden their habitat. Animals couldn't survive in the new environment. Humans became a huge presence, changing the environment around them.
We have an amazing ability to not only modify our environment to better suit our needs, but we have the ability, more importantly, to perceive that we're modifying our environment. We now have to go beyond just recognizing that we are having an impact, but actually doing something about ameliorating that impact and living much more consciously within the limits of the
conditions, thanks to a series of fortuitous events. They are our ancestors. They formed community bonds, won a survival race against rivals, and expanded their dominion. They continued to invent new tools, and at last, we've been thriving over the globe. But at the same time, we've also been making big changes to it.